What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Bat Flip, where we discuss everything baseballs. I'm Landon Raby. With me, Dylan Taylor, Caleb Mitchell in the background as well. Um, man, Tennessee just keeps on sweeping, keep on sweeping on, and man, we're rolling right now. I don't know what it is. It's Tennessee has found something. The bats are hot, but the glaring difference this weekend was Tennessee's pitching was just far and away better than Mississippi State's. Tennessee gave up 14 earned runs. Mississippi State gave up 32. And we did see, we were talking about it, a second ago. Mississippi State got rid of their pitching coach today. So, love to be the kind of final nail in the coffin for that. So yeah, just rolling with it. 28 strikeouts on the weekend. I mean, if they continue to pitch like this and the bullpen continues to mow down guys like Camden Sewell was on Friday night. I forget it's a weird weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's so weird. It throws me off. I don't like it. But I do like having that Sunday just kind of relax and, just knowing that you got the sweep all weekend before that. So, what were kind of your thoughts on the weekend? Tennessee getting that sweep over the Bulldogs for the second straight year.
It looks like you said it looks like they have found something. To me, it looks like they've found confidence finally. Like it looks like a team that
Mm-hmm.
finally looks like they're going to win when they take the field, and they know it. Like we got so used to seeing it the past couple of years now. It's good to see that back, but a large amount of it. I know we were just talking about it, but you know, you have an over 9 ERA in SEC play. You tend to see that number tick up a little bit once you enter SEC play. Over 9 that's rough. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
expecting to drop double digits every time you step on the field, like that's doesn't matter how good your lineup is. In Mississippi State's, their lineup's not terrible, but it's hard to take the field with even a great lineup, knowing that there's a very good chance you may get double digits hung on you. So that's pretty demoralizing, and not surprised to see that they made a move. And it's back to the killer mentality now. Like, not only are you beating teams, you're beating them so bad that they're looking at making changes. So hope
Yeah.
that keeps rolling.
Yeah, and just like they run into a Tennessee team that was hot coming off that sweep against Vanderbilt. The bats remain hot. 36 hits on the weekend. 9 of those went over the fence. So they're just raking right now, 1 through 9, and it was good to see Christian Moore get going this weekend. But it was kind of everybody. It was Maui Ahuna played well in the field. Christian Scott is hitting out of his mind right now. He's almost up to 300 batting average for the season already, and he's been your 9-hole hitter the majority of the season, and he's a walking Gold Glove. So, just a phenomenal series by everybody. Blake Berg hitting bombs, Griffin Merritt hitting walk-offs. It just seemed very 2022 esque. Dominating pitching, dominating the bullpen, hitting the baseball. Again, it's you mentioned confidence. 2 outs, a couple weeks ago, it looks like we couldn't wait for the inning to end, and now it's like 2 outs feels like we have 0 outs. We're the
Yeah.
best 2-out team in the country. I don't know what it is, but something has clicked, and it seems like it's clicked ever since they've made that switch. Cal Stark being your catcher and Jared Dickey to the outfield. Now I know Cal Stark was kind of that spark plug at the beginning of the season. He kind of had that energy to him. I don't know if it's just him, but I am going to give him some credit because he deserves it. He's hitting the ball well. And you'd probably like to see a little bit more at the plate from him, but he's hitting good enough where you don't have to put Jared Dickey behind the plate. Jared
Right.
Dickey, I think he would agree. I mean, he smashed a window this weekend. I think he would agree. He enjoys hitting and also, playing the outfield a little bit more than playing catcher. Just overall statistics say that.
I don't blame him either. I'd say the majority of guys that put on the gear would not blame him. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's something. The best part of it to me is we talked about the last couple of times, or not the last couple of times now, a couple of times before we really got rolling. I think, what is it, 7 in a row now. the main thing we talked about was complete hitting. Using all parts of the field, not just the solo shot. Like that seemed like the main struggle we had when we were kind of scuffling through that middle part of the season was any offense we did get, it seemed like it was just a home run and it was just a solo shot, or it was just the occasional 2-run shot. It's like, well, you know those are sexy, those are great, we've gotten used to seeing those, so you love them. But at the same time, like, seventh inning, runner on second, third, it doesn't have to be a shot then. Like, something in the gap, something down the line. We're seeing more of that now. And I mean, you wonder how much of it was just this weekend too, but you did see it last weekend, and it looks like, I don't know. I wanted to ask you. It looks like guys just step into the box ready to hit now. Especially, I know we'll get into a couple guys that especially ticked up this weekend, but I'm sure a little bit of that had to do with the arms they were facing. But what was crazy to me, one quick note about that Mississippi State coach is Scott Foxall. I wondered if he was, this team's coming off a national championship 2 years ago.
Hmm.
It, you the only place to go from there if you don't repeat is down technically, but at the same time, like they've fallen off pretty quick. And I did some checking to see that he was there during the national championship season too. So that's really just, it was time to make a move. But it's alarming for them that you've fallen that far from. I mean, I know that lineup kind of carried their team back then a little bit more, but you've got to have some dominant arms to win it all. So it's just shocking to me to see that in 2 years you go from winning it all to over 9 ERA in SEC play. That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, I just think a lot of it is there's just seems to be like the pressure is kind of off. Before it was like I gotta. It seemed like we were pressing and like it was just uncompetitive at bats. But now we're hitting in gaps, like you said, we're hitting in the hole. If they're shifting, we're not hitting anywhere close to it. We're beating the shift and things like that. Things that just weren't happening a couple weeks ago. And I think a lot of it is confidence, and it's also I think hitting is contagious. So you get one guy kind of dialed in, I think that rubs off on the rest of your team, and you're not so like you prove that you can do it with two outs. Well, now like that guy that's up at the plate doesn't if he strikes out, I don't think it's as huge of a deal as it was a couple weeks ago because you have a guy behind you that can get it done. So I just think the whole like do your job thing, there isn't so much pressure behind it with everybody in the lineup hitting the way that they are.
And I think it's a good sign that nobody is single-handedly standing out. Like most people would, like, I know we talk about Dylan Cruz a lot here, but you look at LSU and it's clear who carries their lineup. If
Hmm.
you've got somebody that can do that, like we did with the Drew Gilberts and the Jordan Becks, that's fantastic. You knew Liam Spence was going to get on. That it's great when you have guys like that, but at the same time, it's kind of like the old offensive line mentality. Like if you don't know the offensive lineman's name, that's probably a good sign because he's doing his job well, and he's not the center of it. You never really want a lineman to. I kind of think it's the same mentality right now. It's kind of good that you're seeing guys that have big weekends, but at the same time, like it's nice to know that you can really single in. Everybody's hitting it pretty well now. I love that part of it.
Yeah, and we're kind of mentioning the competitive at bats, and like there just seems to be more foul balls. Like we're working counts. Um, and before I don't know if it was just lack of just swinging the bat or what it was, but Cal Stark is a perfect example. I mean, that guy gets up there, he's getting a 3-2 count. I mean, he might strike out, he might get out, but he's working a 3-2 count pretty much every time. And that was so cool to see from Liam Spence because I mean, every single at bat was
Yeah.
7-8 pitches long at least. And so that seems to be they're just kind of up there to compete now. Before I just think it was like, oh, I got to get a hit. Well, now it's like there's not pressure on that. You go out there it's a one on one. You beat that pitcher. Don't worry about the shift. Don't worry about how far the outfield's playing back or where the third baseman's at. It's hey, go out there and swing the bat and make sure you hit it hard somewhere. I mean, Hunter Inslee, I don't know what it is about him, but every time he hits the ball, it is barreled. And I mentioned it last night. It reminds me so much of Jarrell Ortega. Like everything he hit just sounded hard.
Yeah.
And that's why he's able to be consistent in this lineup. Where at the beginning of the season, he wasn't much of a factor. And he came in and started hitting the ball, and now like everything is just kind of meshed all at once. Just that one tweak from Cal Stark and Jared Dickey from catcher to outfield like that. That's been the it seemed to be like the recipe to make this thing work, and it to this point it's working.
And those at bats from guys like Stark, they're so invaluable just because, yeah, maybe he does get to a full count and sees 9 pitches, and maybe he does end it in a strikeout. Like, yeah, that sucks, but at the same time, like that you're not going past him in the line. Like with Liam Spence, it was rare that you got to the 2 spot in the order then, and you hadn't seen the pitcher's full arsenal of pitches then. Like you
Mhm.
weren't getting to the second batter wondering like, hey, how's his slider? What's his changeup look like? Because they had to throw everything to try to get out. Liam Spence was a little bit. You don't want to say more. He kind of was in that lineup where you kind of needed him. It's like if everybody's doing their job around him are right now, it's kind of a bonus if he's knocking it out of the park. It's not really a necessity. You need him having 3 for 4 games every time. It'd be nice to me. Just battling like he does is so much more because the next guy that comes up, it's thanks, Cal. I know what that pitch looks like now.
Yeah, it just puts so much pressure on opposing pitchers, and when you have your 8 and 9 guys like a Cal Stark and a Christian Scott hitting the way that they are and battling and having competitive at bats, it just makes the top of the lineup. It makes it that much easier for them to like, hey, I'm doing the same thing. That guy's batting ninth right now. I'm hitting first. I have to prove that I'm earning my spot because he could easily take it, and that's shown throughout the season. Like they're not afraid to move anybody back. I mean, Christian Moore was at that 2 spot the majority of the season. He wasn't hitting that great. Moved back to fifth and has a career day. Zane Denton hits for the cycle when he gets moved back. Griffin Merritt gets put on the bench, comes in, hits a walk-off home run. I mean, it just they've taken they've taken advantage of kind of their opportunities when things weren't going their way. They're like, man, I got to do something. And it seems like they've just found the opportune time to make something happen. Friday's a perfect example. Griffin Merritt, I don't know why people keep pitching him in the ninth and extra innings, but I enjoy it because we let a lead slip away, and then we just waited on Chase Burns and Griffin Merritt to crush Mississippi State's dreams. And it seemed like after that moment, I know Mississippi State took a lead on the Friday game, but it just seems like they were just ready to get back on that bus. I mean, Saturday they had no chance. They hit that triple in the first inning. We hit 2 3-run home runs in the bottom of that inning, and it was over. And they want to no part of Tennessee after that. They want to no part of Drew Beam. And what's great about the bullpen is like then you have starters like Drew Beam and Chase Dolander last weekend that can pitch that well where you don't even have to get into your bullpen.
Right. And we've talked about all year, like I know at least a couple times, like what would our ideal lineup be? Like, who's hitting in this spot, who's hitting in this spot. And yeah, we both have ideas of what we think would be best, but it may just be a rare case of maybe guys hit better when they get a little bit of a different look. Maybe,
Mm-hmm.
moving from sixth to second in the order, from, third to seventh. Maybe that's kind of the thing where it just a fresh look constantly is what keeps them going. So it's kind of rare that you see that. It's not as rare on the collegiate level, but it makes it exciting at least. I don't know that I would like it, but my batting average was it barely 200 to say anything.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Griffin Merritt, I don't know why. Would you pitch to him
No.
when the game's on the line like that? No, I'm putting him on. I don't get. I don't know like if even to load the bases. No, I'm even to get to like Blake Burke or somebody like that. No, I am walking Griffin Merritt every single time. He's not. He's not going to touch the baseball with his bat.
I was thinking of it. I don't know if you play MLB The Show or not, but I was thinking of it in the
Mhm.
perspective of like they have the cards on there when a guy gets hot in real life. Like if you have the online rosters, their card on there will get boosted up. Like trying to think, Brent Rooker for the A's. I think he's with the A's. Has had like a massive last week, so he'll probably have a
It's
really
Denzel.
boosted card.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
Vols.
Ball for
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Ronald Acuna till the wretched Mets hit him in the shoulder today. But it's that thing where they're boosted because of the recent production. I was thinking about it the other day. What would a matchup between Chase Burns and Griffin Merritt look like right now?
It'd be a dogfight. That's what it would
Terrifying.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Also, like this show is called the Bat Flip, so we got to mention Griffin Merritt's Bat Flip. Was pretty awesome. Throwing it
He's feeling
in the
himself.
field of play, acting like he was going to bench press it or break it over his knee. I don't know which one he was going to choose, but it looked like the thought was running through his mind, and then he just
Maybe
kind of
both.
suddenly tosses it toward the pitcher.
I don't hate it.
Yeah, I mean, right off the batter's eye, what are you going to do?
Because it just shows me he's got confidence now. And that was the thing that in the Florida series, it looked like he looked like a whipped puppy then. Like there was no confidence there at all. So it's just so not, and it's against SEC competition. Say what you will about Mississippi State's arms, but it's one thing to go do that against whoever state, but to do it against Mississippi State, like there's definitely something to be said for that.
Yeah. And then Friday night, which is the second game of the series, you find yourself down 7-2, and it just didn't look like there was a panic. I mean, they just kept, staying in striking distance, and here come the meteor lineup, the returners from last year, and Jared Dickey and Christian Moore and Blake Burke, who drive in 7 of your 10 RBIs. And Blake Burke's bomb to take the lead there in the 6th inning. I mean, that was electric, even though Bob Kessling tried to make it not so much.
What do we know he was in the press box? Was he at a funeral? I'm just asking questions. Maybe it makes me the
I
bad
did
guy,
see him
but
in person, so he was there. Now he might have left after I saw him to go
with
to a
the
funeral, but
hey,
good
with the
lord,
modern advances in technology, he could call a game from anywhere. So I'm just wondering, was he physically
he
in
might be an
Knoxville?
AI.
He could be. God, an AI. I don't even. Bob
Yeah,
Kessling.
well, waste of money. Yeah, just electric, just the whole weekend. I mean, Sunday, Camden Sewell, electric factory. Comes in there, full beard. I love it. I love just the new look because we remember him as a freshman. He had no hair on his face, and now he has this full beard. And 3 and a third inning, 0 hits, 0 runs, 7 Ks. I mean, just pure filth on that Friday night. Just slam the door.
All he needs now is I don't know if you saw the offensive tackle from I think it was North Dakota State that went in the draft. Like he came in as short hair,
Yeah,
looked pretty put together. Now full long hair, missing his two front teeth. So I guess that's all Camden Sewell's got to do is just lose the two front teeth to
yeah,
really,
just college baseball. That's what it
yeah,
does to you.
really drive home the intimidation factor now.
Yeah. And then Saturday you get Drew Beam and the Cream doing what he does. 7 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, a walk, 7 Ks. And man, poor ambidextrous pitcher didn't have a chance with either arm.
No,
I mean, that was rough, and that was your final straw of the pitching coach there, just getting the can.
yeah, if you can't get a guy that can throw mid 90s with both arms to find it's gonna be a tough day. And
Yeah,
we should mention SEC pitcher of the week, Drew Beam.
SEC pitcher of the week. Yeah,
It's got a nice ring to it again.
it's
You
nice.
missed him.
But that's back to back weeks we've had a SEC pitcher of the week. I think we'll keep on. We'll keep our pitching coach and Frank
Yeah,
Anderson.
we're gonna keep this title for a little while if that's okay with the rest of the SEC.
Yeah. And then you hit 2 3 run home runs in that first inning. After you give up you have an error, and then you get a triple, they get a run. Then you have 2 3 run home runs. You hit another one in the second inning, and it was over. I mean, we could have just called it. Mississippi State didn't want to be there anymore. They were done. They couldn't wait to get back to Mississippi, which blows my mind. But they just wanted to get out of Knoxville. That was the moral of it.
And you wonder too. I mean, I don't know. I don't follow Mississippi State, as closely as we do with Tennessee, obviously. But I would doubt that Lamonis is really on the hot seat. I wouldn't think so, just because I mean they are coming off the Natty 2 years ago, and I mean they're not just a terrible team, but it's clear there's been a drop. But I do wonder, when a team just looks that defeated, do they know a change is coming? Like even
Yeah,
if it is just the pitching coach, do they? Because I mean I'm sure it's pretty rare at this level to just like hate your coach and want them gone. Like I know it does happen because it is still a business at the end of the day. Like everybody's not going to be best friends, but like it is still kind of crushing to know like if you're those arms, like we probably just lost this dude his job. So you always wonder if that kind of factors in. Like hey, like
that's brutal.
this dude's got a family to feed, and we just gave up 13 on the road. So it's
Yeah.
like something's probably going to happen. You wonder how much of that goes into it.
Yeah, you're not going to last in many games in the SEC when you're giving them 32
Yeah,
earned runs in a weekend.
yeah.
But yeah, I love to see it. I love run rules. They're one of my favorite. That's my favorite rule in college baseball is the run rule, especially when your team is good. When you're on the winning side, when you're on the losing side, it kind of sucks, but it also like kind of gets it over a little quicker.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy the run rule. I enjoy getting out of the games early. Now Friday or sorry Thursday, I thought we were on our way to run rolling, and then they come all the way back, and then we had to end it the way that we did. But is that just the killer mentality? Does that suck for the other team just to be like, man, we came all the way back, and then we just threw a freaking meatball to Griffin Merritt off the batter's eye?
As you were asking that, I was kind of trying to figure out which one is worse. Getting run ruled is rough. I think if you're just a really bad team, it's more demoralizing to be in it and lose it that way. Because if you're a really bad team, like you're probably gonna get run ruled a few times, so
Mm-hmm.
you wonder how many chances you're really gonna have to steal one like that. But for a Mississippi State, I don't know because it's again like they're not a terrible team. They in one half of the game they just really suck though. So it's
Yeah,
like I don't know which would be worse for them because I don't know. I'll have to see how they go the rest of the year just because obviously there's been some shakeup now. So you
it's
wonder how
all.
much of their season is just in coast mode right
Yeah,
now.
it's also when you kind of see a team like that kind of imploding a little bit. The transfer portal is kind of nice. You're just like, man, I'd like to have that guy and that guy. So Hunter Hines, like, I mean, I don't know what your
Yeah,
plans are for next season, but
that's a
hey,
good
if you
point.
want to come to Knoxville, here's my pitch. Come to Knoxville,
And
and
it's just weird to see it happen to a team like Mississippi State too. Like if Missouri had like like one off year and won a natty and then 2 years later was like this, like you'd be okay, that's not that shocking. But I mean, Mississippi State's a pretty proud program. So yeah, I mean,
yeah,
we'll gladly take their players though. I have no
yeah.
problem with that.
Tennessee's way better than Mississippi. I mean, there's no denying that.
I'll
So
gladly tamper. I don't care.
yeah, I mean, what am I going to get fired for?
Hit me
So
with the show cause. I'll be right there with
yeah.
Moose. That's
Yeah. This is actually part of our show cause. We have to do this. So whatever. We'll keep doing it.
that's
And so you do this is an interesting weekend coming up for Tennessee because they play Georgia. Georgia's a weird team in college baseball. They sweep Arkansas, then this weekend they lose the series to Mississippi State or I'm sorry, Ole Miss, and they're just 24-20 on the season. They're not great by any means, but Tennessee has been pretty horrible on the road. They're 1-9 so far on the season, so definitely want to get a series win on the road. And I just think this kind of sets you up if you're able to take care of business this weekend, play the way that you're playing. I think this probably sets you up in a good position to host a regional.
yeah. I mean, it's a lot better situation than it was this time 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
Um, you still wonder how safe we are. I mean, you can go look at Kendall Rogers' Twitter, and he's probably going to be one of the better voices on you know not only chances for regionals, but just who's in, who's out. You would think you've helped your chances a lot more and probably helped solidify them, but at the same time, like this means more than just, Georgia series. This is, you got to go on the road and do it, which you're going to have to do at some point in the postseason. So
Mhm.
it's one thing that it's an SEC series against a rival that you really don't want to lose, that you've sucked in this situation this year, but at the same time, it's a good test because you're going to have to go on the road and beat a team that's going to be a lot better at Georgia if you want to do what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, I mean, the way that you played on the road so far, like I feel like that should be like, hey guys, let's take care of business so we can keep playing at home as long as possible. Whether that's hosting a regional, super regional, that's going to be, you're going to have to probably win these next three series, and then see what happens with the regionals. But you got to take care of business is what I'm trying to say, and I think this team right now, they're playing as good as anybody, and they got to keep on doing that. I think the pitching is, well, it's not been bad by any means, and the bullpen's been great all season, but it just seems like it keeps getting better and better. And I know Chase Dolander didn't have the outing he wanted on Friday night, or on Thursday, or yeah, Friday night. Um, but Andrew Lindsay pitched well, Drew Beam pitched well. You got Chase Burns, Halverson. You'd like to see a little bit more from him, but you got Camden Sewell, who's pitching really well. And when you're run rolling teams, you don't even have to get to your bullpen. So, um, yeah, and the SEC pitcher of the week. I mean, Tennessee's got the pitching to do it. And we knew this from the beginning of the season. Tennessee has the pitchers to make it to Omaha. The bats got to come along, and I think right now they look like a team that could possibly make it there.
And it's really, you look at 1-9, and I don't think either one of us would pin that on, you know, I know I wouldn't pin it on pitching. I don't think I would pin it on the lineup as much as I would just the errors and the base running mistakes, just the
Mhm.
boneheaded plays.
You kind of
That,
beat yourself in a lot of those games.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. So you wonder how much of the 1-9 is, you lost to teams that were better than you. I don't think that's the case because, I mean, you lost to Missouri. That they're not
Yeah,
exactly
they're
setting the
horrible.
world on the fire. So I mean, it's at the same time, it's you've improved in the two areas. Pitching is better, the hitting is better now, but at the same time, I don't think that's really what was costing you heavily. So it's a good test to see, like, can you cut out the boneheaded stuff now? Because if the other stuff's rolling, if you like it is, if you can cut that stuff out, then you're fine then, and you can see
Mhm.
what this team actually is on the road.
Yeah, did we just do the same thing, like losing that series to Missouri? Did we do the same thing on Thursday night, where we just give up a 6 run lead just to hit a walk off? Is that what we're trying to do? Just like, hey, we're gonna lose 3 games, we'll come all the way back and be just fine.
My blood pressure says no, but I
Yeah,
I mean, at the same time, if it works, I don't care.
right. Yeah. Um, Not a lot else, I guess, to really discuss. I mean, there wasn't any real drama in this series. There was kind of that Christian Moore ran over Hunter Hines, and I didn't see the replay, so I don't know exactly like how it looked on TV. Hunter Hines was not happy about it, but it seemed like he was kind of in the baseline a little bit, and it like Christian Moore like tried to like move out of the way after he hit the base, um, and there was kind of nothing really came about it, but it was kind of the one thing that was a little drama filled, if that's anything.
But guys typically aren't too happy when they're getting their teeth kicked in. So,
Sure, yeah,
like I
and
said,
Hunter Hines is a big kid, and he got freaking tattooed by Christian Moore, who's a lot smaller than he is.
is Christian Moore becoming the ultimate WWE heel? I don't hate that at all. Like,
Yeah,
he's playing better now, and he's not taking any crap from anybody. So
yeah,
I
I
respect it.
love it. Yeah, just have that, no prisoners mentality, as well as you're playing. I mean that kind of just is confidence just coming out of him, and you
Yeah,
love to see that,
that's
especially
that's
from a veteran on this team, if he can even really say that.
right.
I mean, they pulled up a graphic, and it was like Tennessee's lineup last year versus Tennessee's lineup this year, and the one um, common player on there was Jared Dickey. That was it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's, I know we talked last year about that was one of the things that made him so good was he did not look like a freshman. Like,
Mhm.
his in his play one way. I mean, that's one thing, but at the same time, like, when he stepped in the box, you were like, who's this? who's this draft eligible junior out here? Like it's it was weird to see back then. You'd expect to see it a little bit more this year, and we are seeing it now. So I'd be perfectly fine with him just carrying us the rest of the way because it's second base typically like isn't your dog on the field, but if he wants to be, that's perfectly fine with me.
Right. So J.R. Biggs says just blame Mizzou on the weather. That's a good point. Maybe it's
Yeah,
just the weather it's getting better, so the bats are getting hot, and everybody feels a lot better to be out there. So I don't know what there is to that, but yeah, that Missouri series was just odd. I mean, college baseball in general has just been odd this year.
right. I was about to say like you just saw Georgia over Arkansas. Like there's been some sweeps this year that just do not make any sense at all,
Hmm.
which has made me feel a little bit better. Like you never want to get swept by Mizzou, but you've got the weather and you've seen that it's not out of the ordinary to see other teams that are clearly better get swept. So
Yeah.
I was gonna say maybe it's just one of those years, but that's kind of every year with college baseball.
Yeah, and Tennessee also plays a good team tomorrow in Wofford, who's 32-11, I think, on the season. Has played Georgia, lost to them, I think 10-8. Played a Georgia Tech team pretty close, lost to them, lost to Wake Forest, I think 18-5. So, they've played some good competition, and they have a good record. I think they have good pitching. They're one of those like top, um, I think mid major. That graphic that I think 11.7 tweets out every week of ranking the top mid major schools, and Wofford's up there pretty often. So I think it will be a tough midweek game. You got Xander Sechrist, so I'm not really worried. But and the bats that you got going right now, it seems like that whatever Tennessee Tech did to us, I hate that we lost that game, but it seems like we're better for it, so I'm cool with it.
And it's not to me, it's not the worst thing in the world right now to play a mid major team like that that's coming for your throat. Because I think it
Hmm.
would be kind of a bad time right now to get like a kind of layover game where you can take the foot off the gas a little bit. I think that's the exact opposite from what we need at this point of the season. So if you have to win 4-3 and it's a 9 inning grind, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Let's go MVP. I don't remember who went first last time. Do you know?
I don't.
All right, you go first.
I'm going a little unconventional this time. I don't know if it's allowed, but I'll bring it
Okay.
before the committee here just to
Yeah,
see.
let's do it.
I'm going Quentin Eberhardt, Vols
Oh,
strength coach. If
okay.
shout out our boy Shumpert with the article on just it seems like how crucial he's been to this turnaround. It sounds like there was a little bit of a come to Jesus meeting a couple weeks ago where I'll say some guys were probably running a lot based off Griffin Merritt's comments. So if you haven't read the article, go read it. But it
I
sounds
thought you were
like
about to say like they had to fight Q, and I'm like, oh, that's
that's you're fighting a losing fight. Then
yeah, yeah.
I don't know of many guys on the roster that's.
No.
I'll say Jared Dickey might beat him just because he's an insane person, but at the
Mhm.
same time, like I don't. Well, Kavaris tears, but
Yeah.
I'd like to see those two
It'd be
fights.
it'd be Q and Kavaris Tears versus everybody.
Yeah, but if based off that and kind of what's going around, I know you're much more plugged in than I am, but maybe you've got more insight on the situation. But it seems like that little come to Jesus meeting is kind of you know give this team an identity now, and I think that's kind of what he says in the article is you know I don't want to say they hate Quentin Eberhart now, but sometimes coming together over a little mutual like why's this guy making us run 60 poles at 4 a.m. Like a
Mhm.
little bit of that for a little disdain for someone. I'll say that for a couple weeks to, get everybody else to band together. Like that's
I
what you
love it.
need
Yeah,
sometimes.
I love one of those Coach Carter moments.
Yeah,
Every team
exactly.
needs one, and if it works, perfect. If it doesn't, it's going to be miserable for a while. So, um, good that they were able to get that kind of life lesson, probably tough life lesson, and then be better for it. So, I guess right now you're not you're not upset that you went through that.
No, you may be in better shape now for it too. Like,
Yeah.
hey, summer's coming up, tarps off. Like, Gotta be ready.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. Tarps off, 100%. I think there was a grand slam opportunity, and I told myself if this grand slam happens, like I got to go tarps off. Didn't
Yeah,
have to this
natural.
weekend. Did last weekend. Shout out Griffin Merritt for that. So
Well, our guys, the legends of Lindsey Nelson, they've kind of left a void now. Somebody's got to be a little insane.
yeah, right. Yeah, got to. I need some help. I had a lot of nachos this weekend. It was awesome. But I would like some help with some nachos if anybody else wants to get in on this with me. Can't do it all by myself. Maybe some of y'all need Quentin Eberhardt little workout to get in shape,
I
so we can consume more nachos if that's
I
what it
need
takes.
that and some steroids possibly. So
Yeah.
I'll take both.
My MVP, I'm gonna go Christian Scott. And I think Christian Moore is some I kind of thought you might go Christian Moore, so that's kind of why
I
I
was
went Christian Scott. But
If we
either one
went
of
the
those guys,
conventional route,
just
yeah,
just
that's
Christian squared.
yeah.
Christian Scott, 4 for 8, 5 RBIs, a home run. Again, getting close to that 300 mark for batting average, and I just think that's huge for your 9 hole hitter. And I think he was even eighth on Saturday. To have that kind of production that you want out of the bottom of your lineup, and he's been a guy that like everybody's like, you know, let's play Dryling, let's play Tiers. He's kind
Yeah.
of been in and out of that lineup, and um, the way he's hitting right now, it's like, how do you keep him out? I mean, I know you want to see Kavaris Tiers, who's dealing with some injuries, and so that's probably a big reason why you haven't seen much of him lately. But Dylan Dryling is kind of that odd man out right now, and it's nothing that he's done. He's produced anytime he's been in the game, but it's I think experience, and then you talk about Christian Scott the way that he's hitting, and then the dude has one of the best gloves in the SEC. So, um, I think it's a good problem to have. You have Dylan Dowling, who's I think one of the best freshmen that freshmen. Why did I say that like that? It's weird. Freshman in the SEC. The way that his approach is at the plate and things like that. Um, he's kind of just like there on the bench for you whenever you need him.
Yeah, I mean, hand up. I think in the last couple scenarios we've played out, even last week, Christian Scott's been the odd man out for me for a while now. I think I've always said until he proves like he can consistently do it, and he hasn't so far throughout his career. I mean, if he wants to start now, like that, no complaints from me because it's like we talked about, like yeah, glove wise, like no issues. Can he hit though? And that's kind
Yeah.
of where he's lagged behind Dryling, Tiers, and Merritt. But yeah, it's like what you said at this point. How do you take him out?
Yeah. Love to see that. Love to see guys just producing and hanging on to that starting job, even though like there's guys behind him chomping at the bit for it. And maybe there is that come to Jesus moment within yourself, just being like, man, if I don't do something, like I'm out. Um, so yeah, good on Christian Scott. Great weekend for Christian Moore. Jared Dickey had a good weekend. Blake Burke. I mean, I guess I'm just going down the lineup, but everybody pretty much had a really good weekend at the plate. Maui Huna, I think he's getting more. I think he was comfortable last weekend. I think he's feeling himself a little bit. I would love to see him, lay off the pitches in the dirt, but I guess you're just taking some practice swings in before you mash one in the gap somewhere. So
We judge them by how the at bat ends.
yeah, yeah,
We don't care
exactly.
how we get there, but do you get
Yeah,
on base or not, or do you circle the bases for the namesake of the show?
yeah. So we do have one more question by Jr. Biggs. He said, just looking forward, and the article of the number one 24 recruiting class coming in, who might be transferring after. I don't know. I mean, you're going to have to replace, Zane, Griffin Merritt, Christian Scott. Maui Huna will probably be gone. Chase Dolander will be gone. Camden Sewell will be gone. Andrew Lindsay's probably gone. Halverson maybe. I don't know. Um, But yeah, you have guys that you'll have to replace in that lineup and in that pitching rotation. So and Tony Vitello isn't scared to play freshmen. I mean, we've seen that firsthand. So
And
you know,
for all those reasons, I would say I wouldn't expect to see a lot of early transfers. Like, because I mean, if the number one thing you can sell to most recruits is playing time, and
yeah,
it's one thing if you say you're going to play a lot of freshmen and you actually do it and they see that you're doing it, but you know, if you're fully convinced you've got that chance, pretty much until the season gets here, like I wouldn't expect to see many guys call it quits early because I mean,
yeah, and you don't see a lot of people leave this program. I
right,
do think they enjoy it. So you just don't, unless a guy's just not playing. I think that's the only reason why you're going to see somebody leave. And if somebody's not playing, are you really missing them?
right,
So
and even then, it's kind of just Tennessee. I think is still the cool program. Like LSU's up there
mhm.
too, but it's one of the it's one of the destination spots now. I mean, you saw this offseason, and obviously it is reflected in recruiting. So
Yeah,
it's hard
and
to
you're getting a
argue.
lot of those guys where it's kind of like it's not two Vanderbilts, standard right now, but they most of the time they have guys for 3 years and they're done. And Tennessee's kind of getting to that same way. It's like, yeah, guys could come back, but they're getting drafted, so most of those guys aren't returning. So I think it's going to be more like Blake Burke and Christian Moore. Last year's probably it for them. Chase Burns, that's it. Drew Beam, that's it. Um, the talent level in this program is just at a different level, and I think it sucks you don't get to see them for 4 years, and Redmond Walsh's case 8 or Luke Lipsius, but it is some you do have that talent that you're bringing in and year out where it's a good thing. It's a good problem to have.
Redmond could run out to the mound right now from the bullpen. I wouldn't question. I'd be like, yeah, he's
Yeah,
coming in for the bottom of the seventh here. I'd be like, yeah,
yeah,
that makes perfect sense. Doesn't mind no mind the fact that he's 29 years old.
right,
It still makes sense.
right. Yeah, he can. I'm sure he still gets after it. I see him in the
Oh yeah,
dugout and stuff like that. So yeah, if he wants to throw a couple innings in a midweek game, I don't think anybody's going to bat an eye.
I am 12. That's all he needs, just a paper. I
I
am
think he
12.
does need just one more close. So can we fit that in somewhere
Yeah.
for the record? All right, guys. Well, that's all I got. Dylan, anything else?
No, let's do it on the road now.
Let's do it.
That's the next test.
Absolutely. Guys, well, Tennessee's back in play tomorrow, and Lindsey Nelson against Wofford, then this weekend in Athens against Georgia, and just climbing up those rankings a little bit, up 6 spots in the D1 baseball rankings to number 18. Hopefully, getting closer to that regional host spot. A lot of postseason to be played, so and a lot of the season left to be played too. So, gotta close it out. We're getting to the end. It's weird. We only have one more home series left. It just seems wild to me. But yeah, a lot of good baseball left. And thanks again for listening. Have a good week. And we're out.